Three friends, one small town, and a string of disappearances and death that would leave families broken and investigators baffled. In the spring of 2018 in Bakersfield, California, Micah Holsenbake, James Kulstad, and Bailey Despot were all gone within just a few weeks. One man shot dead in a car. One man vanished without a trace, until part of him turned up in a river. And a young woman last seen standing in her front yard, never to be heard from again. Locals called them the Bakersfield Three, not just because they were friends, but because what happened to them felt connected, like something was unraveling beneath the surface of their lives. Their mothers believed that too. In the months that followed, they became their own kind of investigators, pressing police, sharing notes, chasing answers that the system didn't seem ready to deliver. Years later, there would be arrests, a trial, and a conviction. One man is now serving a life sentence. But even with one piece of the puzzle locked away behind bars, the bigger picture still feels incomplete. One of the three is still missing, another was killed, and no one has ever been charged. What really happened to the Bakersfield Three? Welcome to Bad Things. In this episode, we'll walk through the timeline, explore every major theory, from official case files to internet speculation, and finally ask the most important question: what most likely happened? March 23, 2018. Micah vanishes. It started with a silence. Micah Holsenbake, 34, stopped answering his phone, stopped checking in, and for those who knew him, that was strange. Michael had his ups and downs, but dropping off the radar completely wasn't like him. His mother, Cheryl Holsenbake, filed a missing persons report. "My son went missing. Kind of fell off the radar," she later recalled. At the time, Micah was hanging around a loose circle of friends, people connected by shared histories, late-night hangouts, and some not-so-legal side hustles. Among them, James Kulstad and Bailey Despot. April 8, 2018. James is shot. Just over 2 weeks later, another tragedy. James Kulstad, 38, was found shot to death in a car, his mother's Cadillac, in the early morning hours. He'd been leaving a friend's house in southwest Bakersfield when another car pulled up alongside and someone opened fire. There were no suspects, just a witness who mentioned a silver sedan speeding away. James had recently helped Micah move. The two were tight. Their mothers would later say they were starting to notice patterns, and they didn't like what they were seeing. April 25, 2018. Bailey disappears. And then, like clockwork, it happened again. Bailey Despot, 20, vanished. Last seen outside the home she shared with her boyfriend, Matthew Queen, she was reportedly standing in the front yard. That's it. No security footage, no text, no goodbye. Bailey's mom, Jane Parent, reported her missing, and when Cheryl Holsenbake saw the missing person flyers going up around town, the connections hit her like a freight train. Micah, James, now Bailey. All within a month, all part of the same social circle. Three mothers, one mission. Cheryl Diane Byrne, James's mom, and Jane Parent didn't wait for the system to catch up. They teamed up, started calling their kids the Bakersfield Three, and began their own search for answers. They created a website, organized events, went on Dr. Phil, and did what they could to keep the cases alive in the media. At first, Bakersfield PD seemed reluctant to connect the dots. Cheryl said she was given the runaround when reporting Micah missing, but the pressure from the families was relentless, and slowly, things started to move. August 2018, a gruesome discovery. Hikers found a duffel bag in the Kern River. Inside, a human arm. DNA confirmed what everyone feared. It belonged to Micah Holsenbake. The case was now officially a homicide, but there were still no arrests, no full remains, and no sign of Bailey. By the end of the year, Bailey was still missing. Micah was declared dead, and James's murder was stuck in limbo with no new leads. 2019, the focus shifts to Matthew Queen. By 2019, detectives were circling in on someone familiar: Matthew Queen, Bailey's boyfriend. Queen was in his 40s and known in the friend group. It turned out he and Micah and Bailey had all been involved in an illegal firearms operation, specifically manufacturing and selling unregistered AR-15s. Things escalated in July 2019. Queen was arrested after a 2-hour standoff with police on unrelated charges: kidnapping and weapons offenses. One of the victims was Caleb Seiler, who claimed Queen had abducted and threatened him. Another was Megan Farmer, who said Queen pointed a rifle at her and accused her of knowing where Bailey was or who she'd been with. Violent, paranoid, armed, and now behind bars. May 2020, Queen charged with murder. 2 years after Micah's death, Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer made a major announcement. Michael Queen was being charged with Micah Holson-Bake's murder. Even more shocking, Bailey Despot was charged too, in absentia. She was named as Queen's accomplice. A third man, Matthew Vandercastile, was charged with helping cover it up. Prosecutors alleged that Micah, Bailey, and Queen were all involved in building and selling a weapon when things went south. Queen and Bailey allegedly lured Micah to a garage, tied him up with zip ties, tried to interrogate him, and ended up killing him. The body was dismembered and dumped. Queen and Despot, investigators believed, had planned it all. August 2021. More of Micah is found. Over 3 years after he vanished, Micah's skull was recovered, also from the Kern River. The remains were finally enough for his family to hold a memorial. But Bailey was still missing, and Queen was about to stand trial. Spring 2022, the murder trial begins. Matthew Queen took the stand in his own defense. He admitted Micah died in his garage, but claimed it wasn't murder. According to Queen, Micah came in angry, held him at gunpoint, and things spiraled out of control. Bailey, Queen said, dropped a 40-pound weight on Micah's head in panic. Then, Queen claimed, Bailey came up with the plan to chop up the body and dispose of it in the river. The jury didn't buy all of it, but they bought enough. Queen was convicted of second-degree murder and multiple felony charges. Notably, the jury didn't find enough evidence to convict on the torture or kidnapping charges, likely due to the lack of witnesses. In October 2022, Queen was sentenced to 30 years to life, plus 56 years. Now, 2025. Questions remain. Bailey Despot has still not been found. No sightings, no confirmed communication. A warrant is still active for her arrest, but she remains a mystery. Did she flee? Was she killed? Theories abound. James Kulstad's murder also remains unsolved. Despite a reward and appeals for information, no one has ever been charged. Authorities now say they don't believe it's connected to Micah's death or Bailey's disappearance. But the mothers still believe otherwise. With one man convicted, one woman still missing, and one murder unsolved, there are plenty of theories about what happened to the Bakersfield Three. Some come from official sources. Others have taken root in online forums and the minds of amateur sleuths. Here are the leading possibilities. Theory 1. Queen and Despot conspire to kill Micah Holson-Bake. The official version. This is the version presented in court, and the one that put Matthew Queen behind bars. According to prosecutors, Queen and his girlfriend Bailey Despot were involved in illegal gun manufacturing with Micah Holson-Bake. When something went wrong, maybe a deal soured or a gun went missing, they allegedly turned on him. The theory goes like this. Micah was lured to Matthew Vandercastile's garage, restrained with zip ties, possibly interrogated or tortured, and then killed. Afterwards, Queen and Bailey dismembered the body to get rid of the evidence. Digital evidence showed Queen had searched for how to dissolve a body. A severed arm and skull were later recovered from the Kern River. Forensics confirmed they were Micah's. Both Matthew Queen and Matthew Vandercastile were charged. Bailey was charged too, in absentia. Two people testified that Bailey was present during the murder, Queen himself and Vander Castile. According to Queen, it was Bailey who dropped a 40-pound weight on Micah's head. He also claimed it was Bailey who suggested the dismemberment. That's the theory that stuck in court, at least enough for a murder conviction. But without Bailey's own testimony, the full truth about what happened in that garage may never be known. Theory 2. Queen also killed Bailey Despot. Bailey didn't just vanish. She vanished after being charged with murder, which raises a critical question. Did she run, or was she silenced? Jane Parent, Bailey's mom, fears the worst. "I'm hoping my daughter is alive," she said, "but my mama heart tells me something different." Here's what we know. Bailey was last seen outside her home with Matthew Queen on April 25, 2018. Queen never reported her missing. And shortly after she disappeared, Queen went looking for her, not to help it seems, but to find out if she had turned on him. One disturbing moment stands out. A few weeks after Bailey vanished, Queen held her friend Megan Farmer at gunpoint, demanding to know where Bailey was and if she had been seeing other men. That paints a picture of someone paranoid, violent, and maybe on the verge of losing control. Add in the fact that Bailey had recently taken legal heat for Queen. She was arrested in 2017 on a weapons charge tied to him and reportedly took the fall. Right before she disappeared, she had a court hearing that didn't go well. Some believe she was about to flip on Queen and that he knew it. There's no physical evidence tying Queen to Bailey's disappearance. No body, no murder weapon, no eyewitness. But there's also no sign that Bailey ever left town willingly. No messages, no money withdrawn, no contact with her mom or sister, and she adored her dog, who was left behind. If Bailey was Queen's accomplice, she was also the biggest threat to his freedom. That may have been motive enough. Theory 3. Bailey is alive and in hiding. Could Bailey have run? She just helped cover up or commit a gruesome murder. If she thought Queen would turn on her, or that authorities were closing in, maybe she decided to disappear before anyone could make her talk. The theory goes like this. Bailey fled Bakersfield, possibly with help. Maybe a new identity, maybe a bus ticket to somewhere no one would look. She was only 20 years old, and that kind of panic could push someone to bolt. The problem? She's never been seen or heard from since. There have been rumors and unconfirmed sightings, but no concrete proof. And Bailey didn't have the kind of resources or street smarts most fugitives need. She also left behind everything. Her belongings, her family, even her beloved pet. Her mother doesn't buy it. Bailey wouldn't just leave us, she once said. Unless she had help or a reason to believe her life was in danger, hiding forever seems unlikely. Law enforcement officially considers her both missing and wanted, leaving the door open to both outcomes. But after 7 years, most people assume she's not hiding. She's just gone. Theory 4. James Kolstad's murder was connected. This theory was strong early on, especially among the families. James Kolstad knew Micah. He knew Bailey. He was shot just 2 weeks after Micah disappeared, and 2 weeks before Bailey vanished. The timeline felt way too tight to be a coincidence. Some believe Queen might have been behind it, or that someone in the group was trying to cover tracks by eliminating loose ends. One version had James learning about Micah's death and being silenced. Another suggested it was all part of a string of gun-related violence among the same circle. But over time, the evidence didn't support that theory. Investigators eventually said they didn't believe the murder was connected. They believed James was targeted over a drug-related dispute. He'd reportedly gone to confront someone over money that night, someone who warned him not to come. That person hasn't been identified. All police have is a vague witness report about a silver sedan driving away, but no charges have been filed, and the official stance now is that James's case is separate. Still, his mother, Diane Byrne, isn't convinced. "I think our sons knew the same people," she said early on. It's a theory the families haven't let go of, even if the court system has. Theory 5. A wider criminal network was involved. Some people believe Queen and his circle were just one part of a larger, more dangerous underworld operating in Bakersfield, one that involved guns, drugs, and people who knew how to make things and people disappear. This theory usually shows up in online threads or Reddit. Some versions link James's murder to gang retaliation. Others speculate that Bailey was killed not by Queen, but by someone higher up who feared she'd talk. The evidence here is mostly circumstantial, but it's true that Micah, Queen, and Bailey were all involved in illegal gun activity, and that kind of business often overlaps with organized crime. It's also true that Bakersfield has seen a rise in gang-related violence in recent years. If Queen was connected to something bigger, maybe he didn't act alone. Maybe someone helped cover for him, or pushed him to act. At the same time, the court never introduced any evidence of a wider conspiracy, and none of Queen's associates beyond Vander Castile were ever charged. Still, some believe Queen was just the tip of the iceberg. Means, motive, opportunity. All signs point to Matthew Queen as the driving force behind two of these tragedies. Means, he had weapons, vehicles, and access to secluded locations. Motive, he wanted to cover up illegal gun activity and eliminate anyone who could expose him. Opportunity, he was alone with both victims around the time they vanished. He killed Micah, either in a premeditated plan or in a paranoid fit. He then likely killed Bailey because she knew too much and wanted out. Queen's search history, behavior, and own testimony all support this. He knew exactly how to hide a body. The fact that Bailey has never been found, not even a trace, suggests he learned from his mistakes with Micah. As for James, while his death may have been caught in the gravitational pull of Queen's crimes, it was likely carried out by someone else, over something entirely different. Conclusion: a chain reaction of violence and fear. In the simplest terms, here's what most likely happened. Micah Holsenbake was killed by Matthew Queen, likely with help from Bailey Despot over a criminal dispute gone wrong. Bailey Despot, days later, was likely killed by Queen to silence her and prevent her from flipping on him. James Kolstad, although part of the same social group, was murdered by someone else, likely over a personal conflict or drug-related debt. The only man convicted is Matthew Queen, now serving a life sentence. Micah's death is partially resolved, his remains partly recovered. Bailey is still missing, presumed dead, and James's case remains unsolved, despite rewards and public pleas. In the end, it wasn't a conspiracy. It wasn't a serial killer. It was a circle of risky behavior that spun out of control, and a man desperate enough to kill to keep it all from falling apart.